Have you ever felt weighed down by negative emotions, constantly chasing perfection, or endlessly worrying about the future? If so, you're not alone. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to fall into mental traps that lead us away from inner peace and personal growth. But what if I told you that by watching this video, you could learn how to reclaim control of your mind, remove these negative habits, and lead a more balanced, fulfilling life? Drawing from the wisdom of the ancient Stoic philosophers, such as Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, we'll explore 7 common anti-Stoic habits that silently undermine our well-being. You might not even realize these habits are affecting your life, but by the end of this video, you'll have the tools to recognize them and, more importantly, remove them. Each of these habits disconnects us from the Stoic principles that lead to inner tranquility. As you watch, ask yourself, am I guilty of these habits? How can I change my perspective and find strength in adversity? If you stay with me until the end, you'll learn not only how to live a more Stoic life, but also how to build a mindset that can withstand any challenge, bringing you closer to true contentment. Let's dive in and reclaim your inner power. Habit 1. Seeking perfection in everything. In our pursuit of perfection, have we lost sight of what truly matters? This question is crucial, especially in today's world where perfection seems to be the ultimate goal. From social media's perfectly curated images to our obsessive attention to detail in every aspect of our lives, the need to achieve perfection has become relentless. But here's the truth. Stoicism teaches us that this pursuit often leads to frustration and unhappiness. Why? Because perfection is not only unattainable, but also fleeting. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once remarked, "To wish for perfection is a sure way to become unhappy." Stoicism encourages us to strive for excellence, not perfection, because the former is about doing your best, while the latter is an endless, exhausting pursuit. Have you ever worked on a project or prepared for an event and spent countless hours obsessing over every minor detail? Maybe you hosted a dinner party and couldn't enjoy the evening because you were fixated on whether everything was perfect. The table setting, the food, the ambiance. Did all that effort bring you joy, or did it leave you feeling anxious and dissatisfied? In striving for perfection, we often lose sight of the bigger picture, the moments we are meant to enjoy. The need for everything to be flawless robs us of our ability to appreciate what is in front of us. Stoicism reminds us that beauty often lies in imperfection. Imagine an artist working on a masterpiece. If they waited for absolute perfection, they might never finish their work. Instead, they find value in progress and the journey, not just the final product. So, how do we break free from this perfectionist mindset? Start by reframing your perspective. Ask yourself, is this quest for perfection truly serving me? Is this detail something that will matter in a week, a month, or a year? By embracing the concept of excellence over perfection, we free ourselves from the chains of endless comparison and anxiety. Focus on progress, not perfection, and you'll find that life becomes less stressful and more fulfilling. Remember, the Stoic way is about living in harmony with nature, which includes accepting that imperfection is part of life. Once you release yourself from this unattainable goal, you'll find that your path to inner peace becomes clearer. As we move forward, let's explore another habit that quietly disrupts our peace of mind: the tendency to dwell on things outside our control. Habit 2. Complaining about things outside your control. How often do we find ourselves complaining about things beyond our control? Perhaps it's the traffic on the way to work, the weather on a vacation, or decisions made by others at our jobs. Complaining may feel like a natural response, but Stoicism teaches us that this habit is one of the most damaging to our inner peace. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reminds us, "Complaints are futile when directed at the things we cannot change." Have you ever been at a picnic on a beautiful day, only to have your mood spoiled by unexpected rain. While others may take shelter and enjoy the smell of rain or continue their day indoors, you may find yourself lamenting the bad luck. But ask yourself, what does my complaint accomplish? Stoicism emphasizes a critical distinction between what we can and cannot control. Epictetus advises us to constantly ask, is this something that is or is not in my control? When the answer is no, complaining is pointless. All we accomplish by lamenting the weather, the traffic, or even the decisions made by others is to cultivate a mindset of frustration. And frustration, in turn, poisons our sense of tranquility. Consider the modern workplace, where many of us encounter situations that are out of our control. Sudden policy changes, new management, or shifts in responsibilities. Some people may spend considerable time grumbling about these changes, but Stoicism offers a different approach. Instead of resisting what is outside your control, adapt to it. Ask yourself, how can I respond in a way that aligns with my values? What can I learn from this situation? By shifting your focus to your response, you reclaim your power and find peace in acceptance. Does this mean we should passively accept everything that happens? Not at all. Stoicism doesn't teach resignation, but rather the wisdom to know when action is appropriate. When something falls within our control, our effort, our attitude, or our mindset, then it's time to act. But when it doesn't, letting go of complaints frees our minds for more productive and meaningful pursuits. As we move into the next habit, let's explore a behavior that, while often overlooked, can have a profound impact on our happiness: the endless search for external validation. Habit 3. Seeking external validation. In today's world, where likes, followers, and comments dominate our social interactions, how often do we seek validation from others rather than finding confidence within ourselves? Stoicism teaches us that true contentment comes from aligning with our values and virtues, not from the opinions of others. Yet, it's so easy to get caught up in the external world, constantly checking for praise and approval to affirm our self-worth. This behavior, however, can lead to a volatile emotional state that prevents us from cultivating inner peace. Consider this. You've just completed a major project at work, pouring hours of effort into it. Instead of feeling proud of your hard work, you find yourself checking repeatedly for recognition, whether it's praise from your boss, congratulations from a colleague, or even likes on a social media post. When you don't receive the acknowledgement you expected, your satisfaction begins to fade. But does this reaction serve you? Is your self-worth truly dependent on the fleeting opinions of others? Stoicism warns us against tying our happiness to external validation. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This means that no amount of praise or criticism from the outside world should dictate how we feel about our actions. If we act in accordance with our values, that alone should be enough. The Stoic path is about inner alignment, where our actions are driven by our character and integrity, not by the approval of others. When we seek external validation, we place ourselves on an emotional seesaw. One moment we may be elated by praise, but the next we plummet into self-doubt due to criticism or a lack of recognition. This dependency on others' approval creates instability in our emotional lives, leaving us vulnerable to constant ups and downs. Have you experienced this? The praise feels good at first, but it fades quickly, and soon you're left searching for more, like a runner chasing an unreachable finish line. To break free from this habit, reflect on your motivations. The next time you find yourself craving validation, pause and ask, why do I need this? Am I proud of my actions? If the answer is yes, then let that be enough. Your self-worth should come from within, grounded in your own integrity and virtues, rather than the ever-changing opinions of others. While feedback can be helpful, it should not define your sense of self. Take a moment to reflect. Have you allowed external opinions to dictate your happiness? If so, how can you begin to shift your focus inward, finding contentment in your own actions and character? As you continue watching this video, you'll discover even more ways to build emotional resilience and cultivate a stoic mindset. Stay with me to learn how to free yourself from these destructive habits and move toward a more peaceful, fulfilled life. Now, let's turn to a habit that deals with something many of us struggle with: how we handle our emotions. Habit 4. Being a slave to your emotions. Have you ever found yourself reacting in the heat of the moment, only to regret your words or actions later? This is what it means to be a slave to your emotions, and it's a trap many of us fall into. Emotions are a natural part of being human, but Stoicism teaches us that we must not allow them to control us. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic philosopher, reminds us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This is the essence of Stoicism, recognizing that while we cannot always control our initial emotional reactions, we can control how we respond to them. Imagine this: you're at a family gathering and someone makes a comment that strikes a nerve. Anger rises within you, and without thinking, you snap back with a hurtful remark. In that moment, you've allowed your emotions to dictate your actions. But once the dust settles, you might regret your response, wishing you had handled the situation differently. Does this sound familiar? How often have we acted impulsively, only to wish we had taken a moment to think before reacting? Stoicism doesn't teach us to suppress our emotions. Rather, it teaches us to master them. Emotions in themselves are not the problem. They can provide valuable insights into our inner world, alerting us to what we care about. But when we let emotions like anger, fear, or sadness take control, we lose sight of reason and wisdom. In Stoicism, we learn to pause and reflect before acting, ensuring that our responses are measured and aligned with our values. So, how do we gain control over our emotional responses? The first step is awareness. When you feel a strong emotion rising within you, take a moment to breathe. Ask yourself, is my immediate reaction helpful? Will it lead to a better outcome? This pause allows you to step back from the emotional surge and choose a response that is more thoughtful and rational. By practicing this, you cultivate what the Stoics call emotional resilience, the ability to feel emotions without being overwhelmed by them. A helpful exercise in emotional mastery is to regularly reflect on situations where emotions have gotten the better of you. What could you have done differently? How might the outcome have changed if you had taken a moment to pause? By learning from these experiences, you begin to build a toolkit for handling emotions more effectively in the future. Remember, Stoicism is not about becoming emotionless. It's about ensuring that your emotions serve you rather than control you. When you master your emotions, you are no longer a slave to them. You act from a place of wisdom, not impulse, and this brings a sense of peace and clarity to your life. As we move forward, let's look at another habit that can quietly erode our happiness: living in the past. Habit 5. Living in the past. How often do you find yourself replaying past events in your mind, dwelling on things that have already happened? Whether it's a mistake you made, a missed opportunity, or a relationship that ended, living in the past can keep us trapped in a cycle of regret and sorrow. Stoicism teaches us that the past is beyond our control, and to focus on it is to waste the present. Epictetus, another great Stoic philosopher, wisely said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views they take of them." It's not the past events themselves that cause us pain, it's our interpretation and constant revisiting of them. Think about it. Have you ever caught yourself obsessing over a decision you made years ago, wondering how things might have turned out if you had acted differently? Perhaps it's a career path you didn't pursue, a friendship you lost, or a mistake you can't seem to forgive yourself for. But what does this dwelling on the past accomplish? Can you change the events that have already unfolded? Or are you simply burdening yourself with thoughts that prevent you from living fully in the present? Stoicism reminds us that the present is the only moment we truly possess. The past is gone, and the future is uncertain, but the present is where we have the power to act, to think, and to live. When we allow ourselves to be anchored in the past, we miss out on the beauty and opportunities of the current moment. Imagine walking through life carrying a heavy backpack filled with the weight of your past. Every time you replay those old events, you add another stone to the pack, making it harder to move forward. To free yourself from this habit, start by practicing mindfulness. When you notice your thoughts drifting to the past, gently bring your attention back to the present moment. What is happening right now, in this moment, that deserves your focus? Engaging in activities that ground you in the present, like meditation, journaling, or simply taking a walk and observing your surroundings, can help train your mind to stay anchored in the now. It's also helpful to reframe how you view the past. Instead of seeing it as a series of regrets, look at it as a source of valuable lessons. Every mistake, every missed opportunity has something to teach us if we are willing to learn. Ask yourself, what did I learn from this experience? How can I use this knowledge to make better decisions in the future? Now that we've addressed the weight of the past, it's time to consider how living too much in the future can also disrupt our peace of mind. But before we move on, I encourage you to reflect. Are there parts of your past that you're holding on to? How can you release them and reclaim the present? Let me know in the comments below. Sharing your experience can help others on their Stoic journey as well. Habit 6. Obsessing over the future. Do you often find yourself worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow, next week, or even next year? Many of us spend a great deal of time imagining future scenarios, anticipating problems, or fearing the unknown. But in doing so, we forget to live in the present moment. Stoicism teaches us that while it's wise to prepare for the future, being consumed by it can rob us of the only thing we truly have, the present. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same reason which today arms you against the present." This Stoic insight invites us to trust in our ability to handle future challenges when they arise, rather than wasting energy worrying about them now. Imagine this: you're on a beautiful vacation, the waves are gently crashing on the shore, the sun is shining, and everything is perfect. Except that your mind is miles away, worrying about an upcoming work project or a financial decision. Have you ever experienced this? Instead of enjoying the present, you're caught up in a web of what-ifs. But here's the thing: no amount of worrying can change the future. It only pulls you away from the present, creating anxiety and restlessness. Stoicism teaches us to focus on the now because that is where our power lies. The future is uncertain, and while planning is necessary, obsessing over hypothetical situations that may never happen is a fruitless exercise. So, how do we break this habit? The first step is awareness. Notice when your thoughts drift to the future and gently bring them back to the present moment. Ask yourself, what can I do right now? How can I best prepare for tomorrow without sacrificing today? One practical way to ground yourself in the present is to engage in mindfulness exercises. When your mind is racing with future concerns, pause for a moment. Take a few deep breaths and focus on your surroundings, the sound of the wind, the feeling of your feet on the ground, or the warmth of the sun. These simple acts of mindfulness help to anchor you in the present, allowing you to appreciate life as it unfolds, rather than worrying about what may or may not come. It's important to remember that we cannot control the future. We can only control how we respond to it when it arrives. The Stoic approach is to prepare as best we can, but not to let future anxieties disrupt our peace. Think of it like this: Imagine two students preparing for a big exam. One is anxious, constantly worrying about the outcome and what might go wrong. The other, though aware of the challenges ahead, stays focused on studying and preparing in the present moment. Which student do you think is better equipped to face the exam? The lesson here is clear. By staying grounded in the present and trusting in our ability to handle future challenges when they come, we can live a more peaceful, fulfilled life. So, take a moment now to reflect. Are you letting future worries steal your peace? And if so, how can you shift your focus to the present? By doing so, you align with the Stoic way of living in harmony with what is, rather than what might be. Before we move on to the final habit, let me encourage you to watch this video to the end. Each of these habits is deeply connected, and by understanding how they intertwine, you'll gain a clearer picture of how to cultivate a more Stoic mindset. So stick with me, we're almost there. Habit 7. Pursuit of excess pleasure. In our modern world, the pursuit of pleasure has become almost an expectation. From the allure of luxurious lifestyles to the constant stimulation provided by technology, we are surrounded by opportunities to indulge. But Stoicism teaches us that the constant pursuit of pleasure is not only unsustainable, but can also lead to dissatisfaction and inner turmoil. As Seneca wisely observed, slavery resides under marble and gold. When we become addicted to pleasure, whether it's material wealth, food, or entertainment, we enslave ourselves to fleeting desires rather than focusing on what truly brings lasting fulfillment. Think of it this way. Have you ever found yourself binge-watching a series, indulging in one more episode, even though you know it's late and you have responsibilities the next day? Or perhaps you've splurged on an expensive purchase, only to feel a sense of emptiness once the initial thrill wears off. The pursuit of excess pleasure is enticing in the moment, but it rarely leads to long-term satisfaction. Instead, it leaves us wanting more, trapped in a cycle of consumption that distracts us from deeper, more meaningful aspects of life. Stoicism teaches that moderation is key to a balanced and fulfilling life. The Stoic approach isn't about denying pleasure altogether. It's about understanding its limits and not letting it control you. Have you ever asked yourself, why am I seeking this pleasure? Take, for example, the endless cycle of consumerism. The excitement of buying a new gadget or piece of clothing is undeniable, but how long does that feeling last? Soon enough, a newer, better model is released, and the cycle starts again. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what is essential and meaningful, rather than chasing after every fleeting pleasure. As Epictetus said, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. This Stoic wisdom reminds us that true contentment comes not from accumulating more, but from wanting less. So how do we practice moderation in a world that encourages excess? It begins with self-awareness. The next time you're tempted to indulge in excess, pause and reflect. Is this adding real value to my life, or am I just seeking a temporary high? By practicing this kind of introspection, you can begin to make choices that are aligned with your long-term well-being, rather than being driven by short-term desires. The pursuit of excess pleasure, while tempting, often leads us away from the Stoic path of inner peace and contentment. By embracing moderation and focusing on what truly matters, we can free ourselves from the cycle of endless desire and live a more meaningful, balanced life. Now that we've explored the 7 habits that steer us away from Stoicism, let's turn to the next step in your Stoic journey. Let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned. Each of these 7 anti-Stoic habits, whether it's seeking perfection, complaining about things outside your control, living in the past, or chasing after excess pleasure, prevents us from living a life of inner peace and resilience. But the beauty of Stoicism is that it offers us a way to recognize these habits, break free from them, and realign ourselves with what truly matters: our virtues, our character, and our ability to live in harmony with the present moment. Now, I encourage you to take these lessons and apply them to your own life. Which of these habits resonated with you the most? Have you noticed areas where you can begin to make changes? I'd love to hear your reflections. Leave a comment below and share your thoughts with others in this community. Let's support each other on this Stoic journey. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with anyone who might benefit from these insights. Stoicism is a practice, not a destination, and by engaging with these ideas regularly, you can continue to grow and strengthen your mindset. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of Stoicism, and until next time, may you find peace, strength, and wisdom in your journey.